Okay, today we're going to talk about rules for addition. It's kind of interesting because a lot of you already know how to add and so forth. But you could actually, think of these addition rule in terms of two cases. One case is where you add two numbers when the two numbers have same sign. In other words, they're both positive or they're both negative. The other case then is when they have different signs. One of them is positive, the other is negative, or if one is negative, the other is positive. Okay, so I mean, you all know how to add numbers together. Let's see if this rule actually makes sense. Okay, because in our head we do this automatically. We don't really think about it. But turns out this is what we do in our head. Let me see if this makes sense to you. Case one: if two numbers have same sign, what we really do is we add their absolute values and prefix their common sign. Okay. Yeah, you're like, what? What do you mean by that? Okay, write it down. We'll do an example, and I'll tell you what I mean by this and why do we even need to talk about absolute values and stuff like that. Okay, but it'll make sense. I'll wait for you to write. Okay, go ahead and write this down. As you write this down, think about what this is talking about, because this is what you're really doing in your head and when you're adding numbers. Okay. So here's what I mean by this. First of all, let me give you an example. 2 plus 3. Okay. Okay, well, class, what's the answer? Yeah, it's not a trick question. It's 5. Okay. Let's see whether we could apply what they're saying here. Okay. All right. So it says, okay, they both have same sign, don't they? They're both positive. We add their absolute value. What's the absolute value of 2, guys? 2. What's the absolute value of 3? 3. We add them together. 5. It's 5. Of course, you don't have to write all this down. I just wrote it down, just to help you understand. And it says, what do you think this means by prefix their common sign? That means what? We use, the signs of both of these numbers. They're both positive, so therefore the answer comes out to be positive 5. Does that make sense? Now, this is sort of easy when they're both positive. But what if they're both negative? Like -2 plus -3. This is easy also, right? Of course, we all know the answer. Class, what's the answer when you add two numbers like -2 and -3? -5. And let's see whether this rule, right, applies. So they say then take the absolute value of each of these numbers. Well, what's the absolute value of -2, class? 2. What's the absolute value of -3? 3. And then it says to add them together, which is 5. But is the answer 5? No, it says then prefix their common sign, meaning you put the sign of both of these numbers. What these numbers were both negative or positive? They're both negative. So guess what? We put negative in front. That's what they mean. But this is so easy or so automatic. We don't even think about, right? Doing this. But this is what's really, right? This is the rule that we're really following. Do you see that? So of course you don't have to write all. Someone will ask, do I have to show all this work? No, it's okay. You could just write -5 from here. Okay. But why am I showing you all this? I just wanted to show you these because I wanted to show that we're actually following this rule. Does that make sense? But okay, but when in real practice, you don't have to, just write -5. Okay, so go from the first line to the last. That'll be fine. Okay, does that make sense? All right, then of course this is not the only case, right? What happens when they have different signs? So let me go to that one. Just wait, let me move it. Here we go. So second case is where you have, of course, the numbers have opposite sign. One of them positive, negative, the other negative, positive. Doesn't matter. Okay, then of course we subtract the lesser absolute value from the greater and prefix the sign of the number having the greater absolute value. It sounds really hard, but write it down. But actually, like I said, you do this automatically. You just do this without even thinking about it. But this is what's really happening as you're adding two numbers that have opposite signs. So write this down. We'll do an example like the one before, okay? Oh, wait. Okay, so let me explain to you what this is saying. It sounds sort of hard and complicated, but it's not. It's basically like, okay, so everyone, what is positive 2 plus -3? The answer is? -1, okay? Why -1, not 1 or something like that, right? And how did you get -1? Well, this is what's really happening. Look, it says if the numbers have opposite sign, right? We subtract the lesser absolute value. Which one has lesser absolute values? Yes? 2, right? Well, like if you were to just compare 2 and -3 is smaller than 2, right? But we're talking about the value of the numbers when we take the absolute value of it, right? Does that make sense? So lesser absolute value. So we basically do, in our mind, we do what? 3 minus 2 And which one has a greater absolute value? 2 or negative 3? Negative 3, right? Because it becomes 3. So then we choose the sign of that bigger absolute value number, which is negative. That's why it's not positive 1. The answer is negative 1, right? In other words, right, we take the absolute value of each, and then we choose the sign of the one that has. What do we have more? More negatives or more positive? That's what we normally say, right? We have more negatives, so it becomes negative 1. Do you see what we're doing there? Okay. Same thing works for this. Negative 2 plus 3. Well, in this case, which one? Of course, we're going to subtract them. We're going to subtract their absolute values. Big number minus a smaller. But will the sign be negative or positive? Or positive, because we have more positive, right? The way they say that is the sign of the number having greater absolute value, right? Which one of these two numbers, negative 2 or 3, has greater absolute value? 3, which is positive. Does that make sense? So we keep the positive. Do you get what we're trying to say? So it's exactly what we've been doing. It's just that's the rule, right? You may not have thought of it this way, but we could actually make it into 2 cases, and that's how we add numbers that are either positive or negative, or any all the other cases. Of course, am I always going to give you just 2 numbers for you to add? No. You could have more than 2 numbers. So can I give you example 3 then?
Yeah.
All right, let's go to example 3. So here's example 3. I have 4 numbers for you to add. Of course, we're going to follow the order of operation. Okay, we're going to just go from left to right, correct? So let's look at the first 2 terms. Negative 11 plus negative 10. They're both negative, correct? So are we going to add them together or subtract them? Add them, because it follows under that case 1. We're going to add them together. Which sign should we use? Negative or positive sign? Negative, because they're both negative, right? We use the common sign. What do we get, class? How about, okay, let me call somebody. What do we get when we add the first 2 numbers? Mimi, what do we get? Negative 21, right? And of course, rest is same. Okay, and of course, we're gonna add the first 2 numbers next. Let's add, Kevin, when we add, what's negative 21 plus 10? Would the answer be positive or negative?
Negative.
That's right. And of course, what's the answer, Lindsay?
It would be negative 11.
Negative 11, right? Would you not agree? Could we just do this, right? Just add 2 numbers at a time. And then of course, Spencer, what do we do? Here, they don't have the same sign, so we subtract, right?
Yeah.
What do we get? Negative 2, because we have more negative. In other words, that's the one with greater absolute value, right? We follow the sign with the greater absolute. As you can see, you have to, right, use these rules, right? Different cases, depending on what you get. Is that okay? Is this easy? Okay, you have something like this for your homework. Okay. Hopefully you won't make silly mistakes on them. Okay. Sometimes they give it to you vertically. Does that change anything if they give it to you vertically? No. Okay. Try this one now. Hold on. Okay, they tell you to add. Okay, and then they give you these numbers. Again, they give you 4 of these. Okay, go ahead. This time I'll let you do it yourself. Okay, you could add it 2 at a time and so forth. And by the way, if they give it to you vertically, can you write horizontally if you wanted to? If that's more comfortable for you? Yeah, it doesn't matter as long as you do it correctly, okay? Anyway, go ahead. I'll wait. You guys all try. Okay, some people ask, do we have to do it in this order? Some people say, could we add all the positive numbers together and all the negative numbers together? And then, yeah, it doesn't matter. You could do it that way. So, so as long as you do them correctly. So let's just do this in order, right? What do we get when we add negative 321 plus 231? Carolyn, what do we get there? Negative 90? There you go. And of course, you get the rest. We're still adding them, right? So that's very good. And then what do we get when we add the first? They're both negative. Look at the 2 terms. So when we add them together, what do we get there? How about Lynette? What do you think?
Negative 213.
Yeah, negative 213, right? And of course, you get negative 213 plus positive 312. What do we get when we add them together? Brianna, what'd you get? When we add negative 213 plus positive 312. By the way, Brianna, would it be negative or positive, the answer? would the answer be positive or negative? Positive, yeah, because we have more positive, right? What do did you get the answer? What did you get? You're not done? You're not quite? I'll give you more time. Go ahead. Work on it. Okay. All right. You could check with your group, see what you. I'll give you more time, guys. Go ahead. Finish it up. Okay. Did you all get this? Okay. Finish it up. Okay. Brianna, what'd you get? 99. How many people agree with Brianna? Very good. So 99, right? Right. You guys remember how to subtract, right? So you do really basically 312 minus 213, right? How many? Right? You know, 2. You can't do 2 minus 3, so you borrow, right? 10. So you get 13. I mean, 12 minus 3, you get 9. That was 0, so you have to borrow 1 from 2, so 10 minus 1, 9. Right? You guys remember? Hello? Easy, right? Okay, nothing hard. Any question? Okay, so let's go to the next example. Okay. Okay, example 5. Your favorite sort of part of your homework. Word problems. They give you word problem. Okay, so here's example 5, but this one is really straightforward. It's not that hard. Just basically they wanted you to know, they want to test and see if you know what positive numbers and negative numbers are. So so it says an elevator starts at 8th floor. It went down 7 floors and up 9 floors. At what floor was the elevator located? Okay, this is pretty straightforward, but they ask you these. Okay, so A, they say write positive numbers or negative from the problem. Okay, how many numbers do you see in this example 5? 3. They want you to write those 3 numbers in terms of positive and negative. And of course, they want you to add them together. Compute the sum. Okay, so this is sort of the instruction you will see for tonight's homework. And then, of course, lastly, they want you to answer the question. Okay. Oh, this one you do in class. If I give you word problems in class, you need to write. But of course, as a homework, you do not need to write. Okay, you don't need to write word problems for your homework. So go ahead, I'll give you time and see if you could do all those 3 parts. And that's it. That's the kind of word problems you would get. So this is not really one of those word problems that we usually get, right? This is just sort of simpler one. Okay, go ahead, everybody try. All right, so A. Chris, tell me what to write for A. What did you write for A? It says write positive numbers or negative. What do you think we should write for A? Positive 8, okay. Negative 7 and? Yeah, of course. Very good. Everybody, how many people wrote this? 8, negative 7, 9? That's what they want. That's all they want, okay? By the way, why do we have negative 7? Why aren't they all positive? I'm sorry. Why aren't they all positive? Chuck? Yeah, it went down. So you started at 8. Why is that positive 8? Because you went up 8, right? That's why you started 8, right? So that's positive 8. You went down 7, went up. Of course, we said. It says compute the sum. Dakota, what did you get when you add them together? 10. How many people got 10? Raise your hand. Good. So for this, when they say compute the sum, they just mean to write 8 plus negative 7 plus 9, right? And C part, you just write 10, or you just write 10th floor, right? Easy enough? Yeah. Is this okay? So this is kind of questions you'll see for tonight. Any question? No. So this is basically adding numbers. We good? All right.